Tonight, we're diving into a case that kicks off with a gunshot in the dead of night. But it's where it ends that's truly shocking, with a digital trail of breadcrumbs that the killer thought had vanished forever.
Okay, so picture this. It's 2:30 in the morning in the tiny town of Minersville, Utah. Police roll up to a pretty chaotic scene. A man named Shane Davis is on the ground, dying from a gunshot wound to the chest. But with his last breaths, he tells the paramedic something that changes everything.
Because Shane insisted he wasn't the one who pulled the trigger, detectives knew right from that very first moment this wasn't a suicide investigation. This was a homicide.
And almost immediately, things just felt off. From the way the witnesses were acting to the evidence that was or wasn't there, investigators started to get this gut feeling that this wasn't just a crime scene. It was a staged one.
The whole story of a self-inflicted wound just fell apart right away. First, you've got the victim himself denying it. Then, the gun is just gone. That's a huge red flag. And maybe the weirdest part? The 6 other people in the house seemed totally, almost unnaturally calm about the whole thing. The final nail in the coffin was a blood trail that showed Shane had been moved after he was shot. Yeah, something was definitely wrong here.
So pretty quickly, all eyes turned to Shane's wife, a 30-year-old named Victoria Worth. But instead of helping, she starts painting this very specific, and let me tell you, very negative picture of her dying husband.
Her first move? To make Shane sound like a reckless alcoholic. She immediately starts telling police he was out of control, almost like she's planting the idea that, he was responsible for whatever happened to him.
Next up, she casually drops that, hey, a lot of people might have wanted to hurt him. This is a classic deflection tactic, right? Widen the pool of suspects, steer the attention away from yourself and everyone else in that house. And for the final touch, she plays the victim card, claiming she was terrified of him. The strategy here is crystal clear. It's character assassination. In just a few statements, she's framed her husband as a drunk, a guy with enemies, and an abuser.
Now here's where we get the first real break in the case. Victoria lets it slip that she has another partner. She kind of casually mentioned they were polyamorous, and police quickly identify him as 27-year-old Mike Miller. And, surprise, surprise, he's got a criminal record and was seen leaving the house right when the shooting happened.
When police track Mike down a few hours later, he confesses right away. But, and this is a big but, he frames it as this heroic act. He claims he was just protecting Victoria from Shane, who he says was being aggressive. So he's not denying he pulled the trigger, he's just trying to control the why.
His story, though, was pretty weak, and detectives started poking holes in it immediately. For instance, why use a gun? There were other guys in the house who could have helped tackle Shane. And if it was really self-defense, why would you run and hide for 5 hours? Then came the real kicker. He admitted jealousy was involved, which, let's be honest, is a way more believable motive.
So with Mike in custody and Shane having passed away from his injuries, you'd think the case is closed, right? Victoria's a free woman, living in Shane's house, driving his car, even posting on Facebook about how much she misses him. But then, an anonymous tip comes in and flips the entire investigation on its head.
And get this, for 1 whole month, it really looked like Victoria had gotten away with it. But then, that tip came in, and it shined a bright light into the digital shadows where this whole plot was really born.
Police were told to check out her messages with Mike, and what they found wasn't some spontaneous act of self-defense. No, it was a carefully planned murder conspiracy, all hidden away in an app that's famous for making messages disappear.
The messages sent weeks before the murder were a bombshell. They showed that Victoria clearly, without a doubt, wanted Shane dead. This wasn't just some passing thought. She was telling her lover about this deep-seated wish.
And Mike's replies? They were more than willing. He was positioning himself as the enforcer, telling her he could pull it off, get away with it, and this part is just chilling, that he wouldn't feel any guilt. He was basically auditioning for the role of hitman.
But this message, this one, revealed everything. Victoria wasn't just wishing for his death. She was masterminding the whole plot. And the motive was finally crystal clear. It was never about fear. It was about greed. She wanted Shane gone so she could inherit his property.
So, armed with this absolute mountain of undeniable digital evidence, detectives bring Victoria in for one last chat. But this time, they weren't talking to a grieving widow. They were confronting a conspirator, and they were ready to tear down her web of lies, piece by piece.
The detectives just laid it all out.
On one side, you had all of Victoria's desperate claims of being an innocent, trapped victim. And on the other side, you had her own words, right there on the screen, proving premeditation, conspiracy, and a cold, hard financial motive.
Cornered by her own words, Victoria finally cracks. She gives this kind of twisted, partial confession, admitting she might have planted the seed for the murder in Mike's mind. It was this last-ditch effort to make it sound like she wasn't really responsible, but it was enough. It sealed both of their fates.
So in the end, Mike Miller, the guy who actually pulled the trigger, he pleaded down to manslaughter. But the law recognized where this whole ugly plot really started. The mastermind, Victoria Worth, was convicted for what she truly was, the architect of her husband's murder.
This case is just such a stark reminder that even the most carefully planned crime can be totally unraveled by a few messages that someone thought were deleted forever. It leaves us with this one final, chilling question. When our conversations leave digital fingerprints, can any secret, especially a deadly one, ever truly be erased?